So chapter 2 of Burn the Witch just came out, and compared to the others before this chapter is pretty short, with this chapter being only 30 to 40 pages, compared to the 50-60 pages we got last chapter and in the one-shot. So as always, before starting this video, I recommend you go read chapter 2, as I'll be talking about the events that happened in the chapter and some of the thoughts I had after reading the chapter. So the first thing we see is an image of Noelle and Ninny just eating a bunch of pie, and some text that says they are as nice as pie. Not much to talk about here that I haven't said already. Like I've said before, the way they interact with things or do things is sort of an indication of how they are personally. We can see Noelle using the actual utensil to eat the pie as opposed to Ninny, who's just using her hands to eat the pie as well. And like I said in my previous video, this shows that Noelle's a bit more reserved, kind of just follows the rules, and Ninny's a bit more abrasive, just kind of does her own thing. And right in between the two girls, we see chapter number 2 called Ghillie Suit. For those that don't know, a ghillie suit is used to help soldiers or hunters hide better in their environment. Now, I don't want to speak about the meaning of the chapter name, as I think it'll become a bit more important later on in the chapter, so we'll just hold on to that for now. So the chapter starts off with the TV station reporting that Macy Baljour of Cecil Die Twice left the idol group about a week ago, with no news of her since then. One of the TV hosts speculates that it's because she was replaced by a CG character, or what he would call a human, which I'm guessing is short for a virtual human. They also talk about a video that surfaced a few days ago of Ninny saying "frickin' annoying," which we know is from her monologue from chapter 1. And so the TV hosts think that Ninny is talking about Macy. Here we also find out that Ninny is the leader of this idol band. Now, one of the TV hosts says that the video was leaked before Macy left, so they can't assume that Ninny had any involvement in Macy's departure. But the other TV host argues that because it's the realist reporting this, it's basically gossip and might be true. Then we see the TV destroyed, and someone thanks Ellie for being angry for them. Now here we cut to Noelle's house, with her being more expressive as she's nourishing plant-like dragons. And we get the explanation that light dragons, as opposed to dark dragons, are explained to be natural resources for the residents of reverse London. We see there are dragons that specialize in plant cultivation, as a radio wave booster, and for mass transit. So Noelle reads the newspaper that reads, "Where's Macy?" and notices something. Then we cut to our obligatory scene of Balgo and Sushi, just messing around. And of course we see Noelle annoyed or unamused with Balgo and Sushi just fooling around as usual. Her phone starts ringing and she goes over to Balgo to give him the ringing phone. And here we also see that his curtain says "close till you die." And then we see that it's Ninny actually calling Noelle. And here's something I actually really like from this chapter. When we look at Noelle's phone, we see her picture of Ninny is actually her embarrassed. And I really like this because it implies that either Noelle took this picture by surprise, or Noelle actually asked Ninny to take the picture and Ninny being embarrassed by that idea. These subtle character dynamics really cement the idea that Noelle and Ninny have been friends for quite a while. And for good reason, Balgo hesitates picking up Noelle's phone. Noelle also gives Balgo the newspaper she was reading, but Balgo can't read reverse London news without doing a magic scan. Noelle does the magic scan for Balgo and the headline reveals an article about Noelle. Balgo is obviously proud of Noelle, but Ninny is upset because she claims she did more than Noelle, assuming they're talking about the dark dragon they took care of about a week ago. While recording this video, I realized that the dark dragon was also taken care of off screen, which is disappointing but also necessary for pacing issues since this series is only getting 4 chapters. Ninny explains that she's upset because the article is supposed to feature the most active Wingbind member for that day, and that front page headliners like these are rare, only happening a few times a year, making this a big deal, at least to Ninny. Balgo realizes how important this article is, and that makes Ninny notice that Balgo picks up Noelle's phone. It's also revealed that Ninny and Noelle are taking turns watching Balgo for the week, and that Ninny is the only one allowed to pick up Noelle's phone, further showing how close they are. Now we see both Noelle and Ninny get an auto transmission from Chief Billy, asking them to discuss a slightly pressing work matter. Both of them refuse until Billy says that they get 5 times the amount of pay and achievement points in an attempt to persuade them to listen. And obviously that works. Then we see a page spread of both Ninny and Noelle with the chapter title again. Nothing really much to say here that I haven't already said. The chief apologizes, but doesn't really look apologetic about making Noelle and Ninny come back to work on a Saturday. Ninny points out that the chief should also be getting the extra pay since he's in charge of the next mission, to which he makes a blissful face as if he's being reminded of the fact of setting Ninny. The two are told that there's an illegally reared or raised dragon in the West District of reverse London. Ninny asks why they're appointed to this task since this is apparently a huge deal. Billy says that part of their job is to raise and conserve dragons, presumably for their natural resources, so this technically counts as part of their job. Billy almost sends them off before remembering to mention that there was an additional order in the request document. Then we cut to Balgo holding on to Noelle as they get on their transport dragon. Ninny, of course, asks why they're bringing him along. Noelle says that Balgo's ability to bring out dragons makes him useful for the current mission. Ninny says she's upset about this because they have to watch him as he's defenseless on his own. Noelle gives Balgo the opportunity to defend himself, but Balgo uses it to fawn over Noelle, saying that he's happy enough to help him and potentially graze Noel's boob. Noel responds to this by reminding Balgo that a drop from that height would kill him. Noel gives Balgo a piper's mantle and pipe to make him blend in with Noel and Ninny as a wizard. And this might be one of the meanings to the chapter titled Ghillie Suit, since Balgo is literally wearing a uniform to blend in with Noel and Ninny. Balgo accepts the air as a chance to, of course, fawn over Noel again. Ninny asks if Balgo can feel anything, referring to his ability to draw dragons. Balgo explains that his ability involuntarily draws dragons to him, and that he can't really communicate with them or sense them out in any way. Ninny questions why he's there again before they notice an explosion off in the distance. Balgo asks why they're not going over there to deal with it, but Ninny says it's the police's job, because it could be the act of a terrorist. Noel starts heading over there anyway, saying that it could be a dragon, and there could be rewards for dealing with it, convincing Ninny to go with them. Ninny and Noel notice that the building that blew up was the realist building, which Ninny says is the reason why she didn't want to go. Probably because of all the gossip and magazines that have been coming out about her idol group. The citizens of Reverse London asked Ninny to clarify all the gossip and rumors that have been going around recently. Ninny confirms that the freaking annoying, quote, rumor is false, and it's not about Macy. Noel notices that no one is inside the building, and Ninny remarks that it's because it's a Saturday, and that they're less exploitative than Wingbind, which is a jab at HQ for making them come in on a Saturday. A fan comes up and asks for Ninny's handshake. Ninny accepts and asks if they noticed anything about the building before or after the explosion. Another fan says that they saw a man going in right before the explosion happened. Ninny looks up inside the building and sees someone before calling her dragon and pursuing them. Noel chooses to go support Ninny, asking Balgo to stay behind and blend in with the crowd for his own safety, which I guess is another reference to the chapter titled Ghillie Suit. As Ninny scales the building, she sees an explosion right on top of her. She lands inside the building and says that her eyes really weren't deceiving her. The person inside the building asks, "Why are you here, Nina?" Note that she calls her Nina instead of Ninny. Ninny reverses the question on her, and the person is revealed to be Macy Balger, the ex-member of Cecil Die Twice. Macy reveals that she wanted to get revenge on the realists for spreading untrue rumors, and that destroying their building in Reverse London should also destroy the one in front, or normal London. Ninny asks Macy if she was the one that caused the explosion, to which Macy responds that no, the dragon accompanying her did. Ninny tells Macy to give her the dragon, and at the same time is surprised by how big it is already. Macy says that the dragon's name is Ellie. From this, it's reasonable to conclude that Ellie was the one who destroyed the TV earlier on in the chapter, because she was mad for Macy. And this also implies that there's some kind of bond that Ellie and Macy have that makes Ellie aware of Macy's emotions. Ninny reminds Macy that contact with the dragon is a felony, but assures her that she'll be okay as long as nobody knows about it. Macy says that she won't hand Ninny the dragon. Ninny insists on getting the dragon, claiming that she's only trying to help Macy out. Macy responds by saying that it was Ninny who taught her to never believe someone who says they're doing it for their sake, which is also a reference to Ninny's monologue about fairy tales being full of it from last chapter. A hesitant Ninny and Macy begin their confrontation before Noel shows up and shoots Ellie for her. Noel notices Ninny's disappointment about the situation before Ninny responds that she'd be psycho to be happy about what's happening right now. Noel notices Macy and apologizes for not recognizing her sooner. Macy goes crazy against Noel for talking to Ninny like they're best buddies and threatens to kill her. Ninny explains that Macy has feelings for her, and that she gets like this when she's friendly with other women, making Noel even more confused. Ninny states that they can't deal with her straight on when she's like this, so she offers to ambush Macy from the top of the building while Noel distracts her. On the way to the roof, Ninny gets hit by some kind of explosion. Noel catches her and sees that it was Bruno Bangknife, who was introduced last chapter as part of the Magic Circle Corps from HQ. The chapter ends with Bruno saying that he'll need to write up an incident report if Ninny died on the job. Overall, I thought the chapter was alright. It was a little too short and could have used a bit more chapters on Noel and Ninny versus Macy though, but maybe the next chapter will handle that a little bit more in detail. Early in the chapter, Billy was talking about a request document that had an extra order, so from that we can assume that the order was talking about including Balgo in the mission with the excuse that his ability will help Noel and Ninny locate a potential dragon. This could also be the reason why Bruno showed up at the end of the chapter, as HQ was thinking about eliminating Balgo in the chapter before, and this could be the perfect moment to get rid of Balgo while he's defenseless on his own. Bruno's entrance pose looks a lot like Basby, again showing more crossovers in lore and in character designs. Also, Reverse London kinda reminds me of the Vandenreich from Bleach, in that Reverse London acts as a sort of shadow realm to Front London, just like the Vandenreich hid in the shadows from Soul Society in Bleach. Now as for what I think will happen in future chapters, so this chapter was mostly centered around Ninny, and you could argue that the one-shot was also centered around Balgo, so it's possible that Noel will also get a chapter focused around her in the near future. Next chapter we might see Macy go against Bruno since he was also the one that hurt Ninny, and I'm also banking on the next chapter focusing more on HQ versus Balgo and the rest. Now I could be wrong in my thoughts and predictions, but of course we'll just have to wait until the next chapter rolls around.